Well, we are well into February 2026. How are your goals going? How is it going? How is that New Year's resolution that you set for yourself going with your health, your fitness, your weight loss, fat loss, however you like to call it? How's it going? If you feel like you are missing the mark here, feel like you're failing yourself, and you're not quite achieving your goals, I want to bring you some encouragement today. I want to help you. I want to help you understand, first of all, it's not your fault and you're not failing. Most of the time, it's not your goals that are failing and you not hitting your goals that's failing. It's the structure. It's how you approach goals. And oftentimes, what I have found and what I see is that many women are setting a goal. But we need to understand that there's more than just one type of goal. And I think today is going to be very eye-opening for you, and it's going to help you finally have a breakthrough with setting your goals and achieving your goals. So let's get into it. Hey girl, welcome back. Welcome back to our show, Rock That Fitness with Anna Rockstar. And you, because today it's just me and you. I don't have a guest here today, except you are my guest, and it's our show. So I'm sitting here on Thursday. Is it afternoon? Yes, it's afternoon, February the 5th to be exact. And this episode is going to drop on Monday, I'm looking at the calendar, Monday the 9th. It's so crazy how I record and then what I'm saying is going to be listened to in the future, but you get it. So, yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Corpus Christi, Texas. The sun is shining and it's 61 degrees out there. I went out on a walk this morning. It was 47 degrees. That's wintry here. That's very cold. So I was bundled up, and by the time I got back, I think the temperature had already, come up at least 10 degrees with the sun out. But I'm not complaining. I am loving this winter. I'm feeling like, I don't know, what Groundhog Day, I think it said that we were having 6 more weeks of winter, but that's a silly, goofy tradition or thing. But I have been predicting, this is the Anna Rockstar prediction, that spring is coming early this year. I'm claiming it, I'm manifesting it, and it feels like it. Just feels like it in the air. So come on, manifest that with me. We want some springtime, and we want a long, beautiful, hot, sunshiny summertime. So I'm manifesting that. I'm dreaming it. It's going to happen. Anyway, yeah, and I just want to thank you. Thanks for joining me once again on our podcast. Thank you so much. And I really mean this from the bottom of my heart for being a loyal listener, a dedicated listener. If any of the podcast episodes, if any of the things that I'm putting out here are helpful to you, would you do me a big favor and also do a favor to someone else and share it? Maybe you could screenshot this, tag me in a social media post and share it with a friend, because I don't have any control over this algorithm. And I get feedback that my podcast is really helpful and people are getting a lot out of it. So if that's the case, let's spread it. I want to reach more women. I want to help more women. I want to encourage, empower more women with their health and their fitness. So just a little favor you can give back to me, because I don't put advertisings. I don't know about you, but when I'm listening to a podcast episode or I'm watching a YouTube thing, I don't have control over YouTube. There may be commercials in there that I have no idea about, but when it comes to all the podcast platforms, I don't put any kind of ads in here. The only ad that I will put in here, and I'll add it right now, is that this episode is brought to you by Rock That Fitness, the best online fitness community ever for women over 40, of course. But yeah, I don't put any commercials in here because when I'm listening to a podcast episode, I don't like that interruption. So I don't want to give that to you. So I'm not sponsored. Is what I'm trying to say. Please get the word out for me. I'd really appreciate it. Even leave some 5 stars or a review. Anything you can do to help boost the podcast would be super helpful, and I would really, really appreciate it. So what else is happening today? We're going to be talking about goals. And speaking of goals, I want to just shout out to all of the women who joined our round 12 of our Kickstart program, Rock That Fitness Kickstart program, 6-week Kickstart Challenge. And we have an amazing group of highly talented, intelligent, strong, driven women in this group this round. And I'm really loving this group. Everybody has been very open and getting to know each other, sharing their goals, sharing their challenges, their obstacles, encouraging each other, supporting each other. We are in week 1 right now, but when this drops, we just kicked off week 2. Anyway, rock stars, those of you who are in our Kickstart Challenge round 12 this time around, just so pumped to be a part of this with you. And if you missed joining this round and you've been wanting to join the Kickstart Challenge, then go to the show notes because you can get on the priority list. And those people who are on my priority list, they get to actually enroll early, and I have early action bonuses that you don't want to miss. I'll usually give a gift of $100 off of the 6-week challenge program. So don't miss out. Just get on the priority list. There's no obligation to get on the list. But having you there will ensure that you'll be first to know, and you'll get to take advantage of, the opportunity for the gifts and the bonuses whenever that comes around. So let's see, goals. I am actually in the middle. I'll give you a little personal update myself. Maybe, I haven't given any kind of update. Can I do that real quick? Things have been going very well in terms of like my health and my fitness. I did gain, like many of us probably did over the holidays, I did gain about 3 to 4 pounds, and I know it was fat. It wasn't just like, it's water weight or whatever. No, I know myself because consistently over the past, 6, 7, 8 weeks or whatever, that weight that I gained during that holiday season hasn't changed, right? So we're looking at a trend line. We're not looking at daily fluctuations. So based on my trend line, I have definitely gained some fat. And I can tell that also, especially because it's not just about the scale. It's also about how I'm looking in the mirror and how my clothes are fitting. My clothes are not fitting too bad though, but I'm not seeing the definition in my progress pictures like I was. And when I say definition, I'm talking about like I still see visible abs, but not quite as defined. And side note, abs are not all that. Okay. But that's just kind of how I gauge it, just knowing definition of my muscles. Also my definition of my arms, I can see it, I'm in the gym. And it's not all about aesthetics, right? But I'm just at a place where I like playing this game. And so it was like, you know what? February seems like a good week or month to start a cut. So that's what I did. I started a little cut. And I say a little cut. I went into today is day 5 of a modest or healthy calorie deficit, nothing extreme. And I'm going to see how I do in the next 4 weeks. And if I am able to shed that 3 pounds, but when you're leaner, it just takes longer, and I may not necessarily, I may shed a couple of pounds of fat, maybe even 1 pound this month. Who knows, right? Because it's all just based on how consistent I am, how accurate I am, and also how is my body responding and what is my activity level? There's so many things. But anyway, I'm excited about it, and I'm on day 5, and it's been a while since I did a cut. So it's like the reminders of how this is work, and it does take focus and awareness and, a lot of, when I say awareness, like awareness of thought processes, emotions, and, all that kind of stuff. So I love the challenge, and I'm right there in the trenches with all of my clients who are working on their fat loss. Yay, us. We are doing this. So, I don't know. I find it to be, I think it's fun. It's like a game. And there's strategy. You can win. And if you don't, one of my mentors, one of my coaches and mentors always says, you're either going to get the results or you're going to get the lesson. So if we don't get the results we want, we are going to get a lesson. And we, if we don't learn a lesson, what happens then? It'll come back around, because lessons, they just keep coming back until we learn them, and then we can get some results. But anyway, I don't even know why I said that, but you're welcome. That was free. Let's take a swig of some water. I'm going to get into our episode topic today. That's my personal update on my health and my fitness, but I'm feeling strong. I am feeling healthy. My labs are amazing. I'm still doing my HRT. Thank you, Merrick Health, for being my provider, my online optimization provider. Love it. Oh yeah, another real quick update. My IT band syndrome is still lingering. Even after so many different modalities, everything I've done. And I even began some peptide injections there near the site for the last 2 weeks. And sometimes I feel like it's helping and sometimes I feel like it's not. So today, after I get off of recording this podcast episode, I'm super excited because I met someone that we're going to meet together, and she has some holistic approaches that she's certified in that could potentially help me. So I'm excited. Stay open to what God, the universe, has for you, for your healing. And I'm really hopeful for this for myself. I think that is it without getting into personal family stuff, maybe another day. I want to get into this episode. I want to help you with your goals. I want to help you have some clarity surrounding your goals and where you're at. And as you know, it's never too late. So wherever you're at, even if you feel like, this isn't working out, it's just going to be again, you feel like you're just repeating the same habit year after year. That's up to you, right? Because it's the story that we tell ourselves, and we do create that story. We can change that story, and we can change and shape our future based on our beliefs. And so I just want to encourage you to question what you're believing about that, because you can, and it's never too late. So if you're repeating the pattern, that's all it is. It's just a learned program, a learned behavior, a learned pattern that's in your subconscious mind. And then when you are aware of it, that's when we can make some changes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this episode too, but if you missed my episode about identity, I think you would find it very helpful. So maybe Chrissy, if you could just put that in the show notes to just kind of refer back to that episode, I think you would find it very, very helpful. So let's talk about this. When it comes to goals, why I wanted to talk about this today is because what inspired me is I was inspired because of my recent interactions with several clients, new clients. And when it comes to, or even some of the people that joined in on my free Jumpstart Challenge, this was really interesting. When I asked, this is so common too, and maybe this is for you because this was me too, so I get it. And the question is, what's your goal, right? Because we're excited about making improvements and changes with our body, with our health, with our fitness, with our fat loss. And of course, what is a coach going to ask you? They're going to ask, what's your goal? And that's really broad. And I do ask that question right off the bat, because when I hear the answers, it tells me a lot about where my clients are. And most of the time, and again, I get it because I was there too. I'm no better. I just happened to be a little bit ahead of you guys on this journey. And we are all learning from each other. I am still a student. I learn from you. Anyway, I was inspired because a lot of the answers, most common answers, are things like, I want to get better at my nutrition. I want to start going to the gym more frequently. I want to get stronger. I want to, these things, you know what they are, right? They're either, I'm going to get into the two types of goals, but a lot of times these are things that they're not really quantifiable, and they're typically action oriented. I want to eat healthier. I want to feel better about myself. I want to have more confidence. These are they're great in concept. They're great ideas. But what I notice is what I'm going to go over. Okay. And this is kind of like, and I guess I'm just going to touch on it right now. There's two types of goals, right? There's an outcome goal and there's process, action, daily action type goals, process goals. And so my own personal story is very similar. And this is the reason why I personally, for decades, for years, most of my adult life, I also struggled to keep going, to stay consistent, to actually achieve some kind of an outcome goal. The result that I really wanted was because I didn't have this really nailed down. And I would do the same thing. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to eat less. I'm going to, cut out certain things, and I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to exercise regularly, and I'm going to eat water, and I'm going to eat water. I'm going to eat water. Let's have a swig of some water right now. I'm going to eat some water. I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to stay hydrated. Because I'm going to, all these things, right? And so the breakthrough really happens when we shift from chasing these results to consistently practicing behaviors. So that right there, did you catch that? Chasing a result, chasing an outcome goal, rather than consistently practicing the process, the daily actions, the daily behaviors. But I'm not here to say, you know what, one is better than the other, because we have to have both. We need both. So let me just give a little quick, what is a goal actually? What is a goal actually? It is defined as like direction that guides the choices that we make. It guides our behavior, and it sets our priorities. That's what a goal does. But goals are not just targets. What they are frameworks that influence how we live our life every day, day in and day out. Did you catch that? Goals are not a target. They're a framework that influence how you live daily. So let's talk about the two goal structures. So I have my notes here. I'm taking a look at how I want to explain this. And, maybe this is something like, yeah, and I already know this. That's great. But I think that it helps us all to still be reminded. I even need reminders sometimes, especially because goals go beyond just health and fitness, right? There's goals in our personal development. I'm dealing with my own personal goals in my personal development right now. And I'm constantly working on staying aware of this area in my own personal growth that I'm working to change. And I have a goal. Anyways, let's talk about these. There's two types, right? Two types of goals. You have outcome goals, and then you have daily action goals, or you can let's just call them process goals. But each of them is going to serve a different purpose. And when one is missing, this is when our progress becomes unsustainable, because we need to have both of them. I want to just give a little definition to what an outcome goal is. It's the result or experience that someone wants to achieve. It's what you want at the end of that destination. Like you're going somewhere, where do you want to end up? Right? It's that outcome. Some examples would be to lose body fat, to improve muscle definition, improve health markers, right? We want to improve our labs. That's a big one, especially as we're aging. We need to keep an eye on those things. Increase strength, increase endurance. We want to feel great in our body, in our clothes, in our daily life, have energy, stamina, right? These are just some outcome type of goals. And the role of these outcome goals is that they provide us with some direction. It creates a vision, something that we can visualize, basically, and it helps us to measure the long-term progress. But having just the outcome goal can be problematic because there's a limitation to the outcome goal. Because outcome goals, we don't have all control over an outcome goal. It's dependent on variables that we don't have control over, including our physiology, how our body may respond to our process goals. The outcome goal is also dependent on stressors in life. It's dependent on our recovery, our ability, our physical ability for recovery, depending on what's going on with our training. Outcome goals are dependent on our bodies adapting to the daily processes, to the process things that we're doing, our behaviors daily. And then on a bigger note, which I think that we all can agree, that the limitation of an outcome goal also is that we don't have control over lifey things that happen, right? We have things that come up, family situations, a crisis, or even an illness, something that we get sick, or, some reason that detours our focus and we have to put our energy in a different direction for a period of time. So that's why we can't control the outcome, okay? And that's what makes it limiting. But we do need to have that destination and that outcome goal. It's necessary. So now let's switch gears and talk about the process goals. What a process goal is, it's something that we can repeat as a behavior, and it's performed consistently, and it drives the outcome. I mean, it gets us to the outcome is a better way to say it. So some examples of that would be strength training, right? 3 times a week, as I do. Hitting your protein targets daily so that you can maintain your muscle mass, so you can build muscle mass, right? Making sure you're getting that protein optimally each day. Tracking your food consistently if you are working towards a calorie deficit, or any type of goal when it has to do with like maintenance or bulking or cutting, those things. We need to be tracking our food daily, right? If we want to hit that goal. Reaching our daily step goal, staying active, keeping up our activity level, making sure that's up, maintaining hydration, very important, right? To make sure our body's hydrated. And then following a consistent sleep routine. So these are just examples of behaviors, actions that need to be repeated and practiced in order for us to achieve said outcome goal. Those are process goals. And so the role of these process goals is they provide a sense, not a sense, they actually do provide a sense of control, and we do have control over them because it's something that's happening now in the present moment that we can control. These things we can control. We can control what we're putting into our mouth, what we are eating, what we are drinking. We can control those things. We can control what's happening today and how we manage what's happening in the moment. These process goals build a sense of confidence, reinforcing what we're doing and where we're going. And they establish daily progress because we can actually see what we're doing on a daily basis. And it creates long-term habit patterns, because when you show up and focus on these process goals each day, right, and you're doing them, you're practicing them, then you're establishing the habits. And we all know that a healthy, fit lifestyle and maintaining your fat loss is dependent on establishing your habits, your healthy habits. So basically, what we're doing here is these daily behaviors, they determine whether the outcome is something that's, achievable or predictable, okay? And I want to backtrack for just a second and say that the reason we must have the outcome goal, because, like I said, in my example, right, I got all gung-ho many times. And I'm like, now I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to have a salad and I'm going to eat chicken. I'm going to do all these things that I know are healthy, and then I'm going to exercise. So I was so focused on that, on those process goals for years, but I wasn't focused on, I didn't necessarily, that's one way, right? I'm going to back up. But then I would lose sight of, then it would be like, oh, nothing's happening. That goal is out there. Or then I would focus on that goal, right? The other thing, I'd focus on that outcome goal. And then I would lose sight of my regular everyday behaviors, my process goals. So we have to have both. And so what I'm trying to say here is that I too did that. I was either focused on the process goals and not thinking about where I wanted to go, and I'd be frustrated, or I'd be thinking about the outcome goal and I would get frustrated because it was taking too long to get there. But we need to have both, and we need to have some balance in thinking about those, and they both matter. And why that outcome goal is there, this is a huge, if you get nothing out of, this is one of the biggest takeaways I hope you'll take away from today's episode is this. The outcome goal, that vision, that destination that you're heading towards, that you want to achieve, that vision for yourself, that is like the fuel. It's the fire that fuels our process goals. So we can get up every day excited about these process goals and continue with the process goals and stay focused on now, because that's the fuel of where we're headed, right? Okay. So like I said, these daily behaviors determine whether the outcome goals are going to be achievable, predictable, and those kind of things. So how the two goals work together, the outcome goals are going to establish our direction, and the process goals are going to determine the movements, the actions, the actual what are we doing today, right? Because without the outcome goals, effort is going to lacks the focus. We don't have focus. If we're without that outcome goal, then we don't have that. What am I trying to say here? Effort is going to lack focus. They both matter. And without the process goals, outcomes just remain inconsistent. We have to have those process goals. And let's talk a little bit, just to touch on science and psychology that supports this, because as you know, I'm going to talk about a lot of this stuff in this year. I've been talking a lot about our mind and our subconscious mind and how we develop the patterns that we already have developed, the patterns that we are developing, how we do this, right? Because behavior is going to drive our results. I mean, we see it every day, right? You didn't just, gain all this weight today. This was a pattern over time, right? So, all right, just a second. Let's take a little swig of some water. All this to say, behavioral research shows that repeated actions predict long-term outcomes more reliably than motivation or intention, right? Motivation is going to fluctuate. We talk about that all the time. Motivation comes and goes, right? Habits are what create our sustainability, consistency. And our brain works on a reward system. Like science backs this up, neuroscience backs this up. And I'm not here to get all geeked out into the details about it. It's very simple. The brain releases dopamine when progress or completion occurs, and that's a reward. And if you want to think about this for a moment, when are we the most happy and when do we feel happiness and joy? It's when, I don't know about you, but when I feel like I'm making some progress or I completed something, there's a sense of a reward. It feels really great, right? And that's key, like to feel that on the inside, those emotions. And so what happens is the outcome goals delay the reward because results take time. And this is where that sneaky, instant gratification comes in all the time, that it's just human nature that we have a tendency, right, to want instant gratification. It's the human nature to want that reward right now. But process goals create frequent reinforcements, and it increases our follow through. It's that pattern. You're creating that pattern. It's becoming a habit where you don't have to think about it anymore, which is a beautiful thing. But we have to understand that, that outcome goes out there and we're not getting rewarded for that because we can't control a lot of the things that are happening. But we can focus on our process goals. And it feels good, right? You completed that workout, that feeling, a sense of accomplishment, reward. Okay. You prepared all your protein for the next, 5 days, and you have a plan in place. You have scheduled yourself on the calendar for all of your workouts this week. It feels accomplishing. And then you showed up and you did it. You completed it. It feels good. Every time we accomplish little things, it's a reward. So we want to keep that momentum going because that's how the brain creates habits, because it gets that little dopamine hit. That's why it feels good. That's why, big side note, ladies, if you feel like you're dragging behind, you haven't been doing what you're supposed to, and you're getting down on yourself, boom, all it takes is one action, to get rolling again, right? It's that whole compounding effect. When you decide, I've been not going to focus on all that I haven't been doing. And this feeling is just down and out, and I'm making no progress. And what am I doing? And all this. Stop that. Let's just become aware of it. And now, what's one action you can take to put you back on the road towards that outcome goal, towards your goal, where you want to go, the vision you have for yourself. And then when you take that one action, maybe it's that one next meal, right? That's healthy, filling, hitting your macros, and that you accomplish, that right there, a little dopamine hit to your brain. I did that. And celebrate it. I cannot tell you how important this is. And I talk about this with our clients, RTF, all the time, ladies, like celebrate every win, because we're just reinforcing that subconscious mind and reinforcing that habit. So, which leads me to this next point that I want to make is this identity formation, which I've been talking a lot about, but all humans are going to do this. We tend to act in alignment with our self-perception. So if we believe XYZ about ourselves, then we are going to act in alignment with it. This is the reason why I like to practice and share this with, RTF ladies. Who are you? Who is the woman? What does she do? Who are you? You are a rock star, fit, healthy, showing up for herself woman. That's who you are. This identity of who you are, right? Not who you've been, not the patterns of the past, but who you're meant to be today and who you are becoming, right? Who is she? That self-perception. I am a woman that shows up for herself. I am a woman that does what I said I'm going to do, and I do it. I follow through. And the more we do this, right, what happens? We are just reinforcing, and it also reinforces that self-perception. And it's that when we act in alignment with that self-perception, it just is a cycle that continues, right? We are going to act in alignment with our self-perception. So if you perceive that you are a person that is never consistent and you don't follow through and you can't XYZ, or I am not a morning person, or I don't like working out, I am not an exerciser, I don't like eating healthy food, all of those things, right? That's your self-perception. What happens? You are going to act in alignment with that. This is why we always say, right? You want to be the person, be her. Act like her, be her, because when you are being this woman that you're meant to be and you're becoming, you are going to do the things that she does. And eventually over time, as you do those habits that are in alignment with your self-perception, then you are going to get those results. And I know this can sound like so elementary, because it is. It's not complicated. It's really very freeing and empowering when you think about it. These repeated behaviors are going to shape your identity. We talked about this on the last episode when I talked with, Coach Alex. We were talking about that. The more you repeat a pattern, the more it shapes your identity. I think about myself back in my fat loss phase, and when I was repeating the patterns, I was like repeating the patterns, and I was doing the same thing, and I was showing up. I was showing up, not perfectly, but I kept showing up. Some days were great. Some days were not so great. But that repeated behavior shaped my identity. I'll never forget the day that this was over time. I had trained, I had already reached my goals, fitness, aesthetics, whatever, physical goals. And I was at a 5K, I think it was a 5K run. I think it might've been a 10K. I don't remember. That's not even the point. And it was a Christmas run. I should go back and look for that picture. But I will never forget it, because at the end of that run, and I won, I don't know what place it was. I don't know if it was first place, second place, third, it doesn't matter. I won something. I won a trophy. I was so excited. And I remember what happened after that day. I said to myself, not even to myself, I remember, I think I was on a story on my social media somewhere, and I was like, hey, and I was practically in tears. And I was like, I'm an athlete. I claimed that day. I was like, I'm an athlete. I claimed this identity that I was athletic, right? But that was the repeated behaviors of showing up for myself with my nutrition, showing up for myself in my training, my daily behaviors, getting to bed on time, working on myself, not perfectly, but slowly over time, little by little, a little becomes a lot. These repeated behaviors are going to shape your identity. It's that simple. And when you become aware that the patterns that you are repeating are not serving you, that's shaping your identity too in the other direction, the direction that you feel like is not serving you. This identity is going to stabilize your long-term consistency. So, next point I want to make is when we focus on the things that we can control, the behaviors and these repeated things, it's going to reduce the psychological stress. And it's going to increase our resilience when results fluctuate, because we're going to learn to trust the process and enjoy the process, because we are starting to see, right, the progress. We're starting to see the results. Again, focusing on the controllable behaviors is going to reduce the psychological stress, because we can just trust that if we keep showing up, then it's just the same thing. It's going to reduce the psychological stress, because all we're doing is repeating a behavior that we just get used to. It becomes who we are. And then we're not stressing all the time. And we become stronger in those patterns. And it just repeats and gets stronger. We do actually become stronger the more we repeat those patterns. I'm repeating myself. I may be repeating myself on purpose here. So when things fluctuate during our journey, because it does, believe me, I know I've had lots of fluctuations in my own. I've seen it in my clients. They've had fluctuations and they come back, right, to those patterns. Just like when you have established habits when it comes to your nutrition, when life throws you a curve, you have learned how to pivot. You have learned to control the controllables and not let everything control your emotions and then let your emotions control your behaviors. You've mastered your emotions. You've worked on yourself to this point where now you just know, I'm just going to fall into my habits that reduce the stress and do the next best thing, because the fluctuations happen, right? It's up and down. It's everything. It's everything in life. There's going to be things. So why do goals commonly fail? Because goals are broken down when outcomes are prioritized without any structure. That's how it's going to break down. And progress is measured only by results. That's also a breakdown of goals. Motivation is expected to remain constant. That's going to break down your goals, because motivation is not constant. Temporary plateaus are interpreted as failure, and it's not failure. So progress often occurs before it becomes visible. And this I see all of the time. You've probably experienced it too. It's like you've been practicing these behaviors, been showing up, doing your action goals, right? Your process goals, and you're not seeing visible results, but the results are happening on the inside. It's happening, but it's very slow. And I've seen this so many times. People are on the verge of actually seeing visible results because they've been consistent for a period of time, but because they aren't patient, continuing with their process goals. Side note, proven methods of your process, proven, not a bunch of crazy diets. I'm not talking about that, but you're getting to a point where you're about to have visible results and then you give up because you are so focused on the outcome and not staying with it. That's why I keep saying, keep showing up. And also, the other reason that your goals are falling apart is that there's no behavior tracking. There's no tracking of what you're doing. And then that progress just goes unnoticed. This is why I find it so helpful, and I know it helps when we track our consistency. You're tracking your food every day, track it on a calendar. And it's so like that visual, you can see on the calendar day after day, you put that little star sticker on there. As ridiculous as it sounds, it is very motivating for our brain. It's like that little kid, right, in elementary school, excited for that star. And you start seeing those stars and tracking it. So, like I say, you don't know how consistent you're being unless you track your consistency. So tracking it, tracking your training. If you aren't tracking your strength training, like doing the same exercises week after week on a program where you're tracking your sets, your reps, your weights, and seeing your progress over time, visually, then it gets unnoticed. You don't notice that you're making progress. So that's another way that your goals just fall apart. So when I'm going to go into some, what I would call my R or rockstar methods for setting goals. And hopefully this helps you. So step one, okay, how many steps did I put here? I've got basically 4 simple steps. You know me, I'm all about simple. So simple is sustainable. The first step, identify one meaningful outcome for yourself. Just one very meaningful outcome. This is like, what is the result that you want, the desired result? And what is the personal for you, right? You don't want to be trying to adopt some goal because somebody else thinks you need to have it. This needs to really live inside of you with power. Like, you want this. And it needs to be something that you know is going to impact you and your quality of life, okay? Choose that goal. So select one meaningful outcome for yourself. I know this is general because this applies to everyone, and so it's going to be very different for you. So select that one outcome for yourself. Number 2, identify, write these things down, girl. You got to write it down. There's a lot of power in writing things down. Identify supporting behaviors. What are the process goals? Okay. Ask, what consistent actions would someone who already living this outcome perform? Okay. What is your upgraded version of you already doing on a consistent basis that has that result? Okay. And choose 3 to 5 repeatable behaviors that can realistically be sustained. Okay. Don't be jumping from, the letter A to the letter Z. Okay. We got to start somewhere that we know we can realistically sustain it. I hope that makes sense. So choose 3 to 5 repeatable behaviors. Maybe I should give some examples here. Maybe. Let me give you an example of something that I did in my fat loss phase and I know I've shared this before, but I know we have some new listeners. So when I set out to lose weight, back in my time, I was like, my goal, I had a number. I was like, if I could just lose 50 pounds, I will be so happy. That was my, weight loss goal at the time. And mind you, we change, right? We are on a personal development path when we decide we're going to do something. It's not just about what we're doing. It changes us. I've learned so much. But anyway, that was my goal, right? I was going to lose weight. I was going to lose 50 pounds. How I was going to do that for me is I was going to stop trying to do everything at one time, and I was going to start stacking my habits. And I knew I needed to work on my nutrition. I knew I needed to be in a calorie deficit. I knew I needed to decrease my energy consumption to be just below the energy output so that I could lose weight. That's what I knew I needed to do. So what are the behaviors that I needed to do? Daily behaviors were that I was going to plan my meals daily, weekly, whatever I needed to do. I was going to be planned in advance. That's one thing I was going to do. That's the daily thing. I was going to track my food daily. And I was also going to track my consistency daily. What else was I going to do? I was going to move daily. I wanted to increase that energy output. So I started walking. That was a ways in. But you see what I'm saying? You need to have, what are the process goals towards the outcome goal? That was my outcome goal, but what were my process goals? I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but I want to just give a little example from my own life. So, and like when I wanted to start my fitness journey, because I sort of have like, I feel like a split. Like there's a part of me that started off with just my fat loss goal, which I focused strictly on my nutrition, truly, for a very long period of time before I decided, okay, now, and I don't recommend this for anybody at the time. That's just how I did it because I didn't really know any better. I believe that you need to do both. And I think there's a way to do it in a sustainable way. But what I'm trying to say is when I started my fitness journey, my goal was eventually I wanted to start running, and my goal was in my mind, my fitness journey was going to take me to my outcome, which was a I can't even talk. I wanted to recomposition my body. I wanted to build muscle. I wanted to get strong. I wanted to look like the fit chick, girl. That was my goal, man. That was my goal. How I was going to do that. I wasn't just going to start running 5Ks. I knew eventually I wanted to strength train and build muscle, but I wasn't going to start doing that right away. I wanted to start with something I knew was sustainable for me. And for me, I was just going to start walking. That's it. I started walking 3 days a week for 30 minutes for 30 days. That was my first step. That was my process. That was my process goal towards my outcome goal. And that process lasted for 30 days for that. And then from there, my process, I added to it. And I said, if I am able to stay consistent with walking 3 days a week for 30 minutes for 30 days, then I will reward myself with a gym membership and I'll start going to the gym to lift for 2 days a week. And I did that. And then I did that for a period of time. And then from there, I started not just walking, I started jogging. So you see, those were process goals for my outcome. And the rest is history. You already know that, yeah, I had some great results. Okay, number 3, you want to track your behavioral consistency, okay? Because tracking is going to create awareness, and then that awareness creates accountability, which we need accountability with ourselves. And then we can make adjustments, and then we'll have progress. So you want to measure things along the way, right? Before you evaluate your outcome and your results. You have to have data is what I'm trying to say. If you have no data at the end of any period of time, how can you know you're making progress, right? So like with tracking calories, if you are tracking your calories every day, if you're not tracking accurately, you don't have any good data to make any kind of adjustments to make progress. Simple example. Okay, number 4, you want to evaluate your success through execution, because progress is demonstrated by what? By frequency of behavior and completion. Improvement in our consistency. With this consistency, improve on your consistency. How do you know if you've improved on your consistency? One of the things that we do all the time in RTF is tracking our consistency on a consistency calendar. So at the end of the month, do the quick, easy math and say, oh, you know what? My results were this, but my consistency was 50%. So this coming month, I'm going to improve on my consistency. And the only way you knew it was 50% is because you have the data to prove it. You tracked your consistency. And then this increased confidence in follow through, right? That's what it's going to demonstrate. This progress demonstrates all this kind of stuff. So you want to evaluate your success through tracking these things. I hope that makes sense. So that's how you're going to know you have progress. All of these things are they're necessary if you want to actually achieve your goal. Okay. And again, it's worth repeating that having the outcome goal, having that result that you desire strongly, when you envision the person that you desire to be physically, emotionally, mentally in your life, number 1, you deserve it. You deserve it. Give yourself that. And you can dream big. Give yourself permission for that. Okay. But the idea, having that outcome goal, the whole point of having that outcome goal is not so you can achieve it. This was what I was trying to say earlier. Now I remember how I wanted to say it. It's not so you can achieve that outcome goal. The purpose, the intention of having that outcome goal is to give you the fuel, the excitement, the energy to get up and go after your goals, right? By doing your process goals. I hope that you're able to see now the importance of having both in mind as you're going through your health and your fitness journey. So yes, the outcome goals, they do change our external results, right? Because thinking about your outcome goal, most of us are thinking weight loss, fat loss, changing our body composition, and that's, an external result. But these process goals, think about what these process goals are doing. They're reshaping your internal identity. The process goals, it's like this. This is what you've heard all the time. It's, again, another thing worth repeating is that it's not the destination, right? It's not the destination that matters in your journey. It's who you're becoming along the way. And I didn't even really fully grasp this concept till well into my own health and fitness journey when I started discovering wow, I'm different. I'm becoming so different as a person. And then I started to really appreciate that saying about it's not about the destination, it's about who you're becoming, right? Because that matters more than anything, right? Because when you are being her, you are doing those things, and those results are the byproduct of that. Long-term success occurs when behaviors align with your self-image. So here we are. It's, here we are this part of the year. I don't know where you're at with your goals, okay? But start thinking today, if you have been feeling like you've been failing your goals, I just want to encourage you. You can have right now, you're not even starting over. You're just continuing your journey, okay? We're letting go of things. You're not a failure, but now you have some tools right now, girl, for you to step up and let's get going again. Let's get it. Let's do it. Now you have your structure for your goals. You understand the outcome goal. You understand the process goals. So think about this. These are just some reflections for you as I come to a close here. I have 3 things for you if you want to do a little journal writing, okay? What result do I want to create in my health or in my life? Okay. Number 2, which daily behaviors directly support that result process? And which behaviors am I ready to commit to consistently right now? And be honest and start small and build from there. Okay. Because goals are not designed to test your discipline. Okay. They're designed to guide your leadership over your daily decisions. And so when your attention shifts from chasing results to mastering your actions, the progress becomes steadier and your confidence increases and the outcomes become more reliable over time. And you got this, girl. All right, girl, that's all I got for you. I really do hope that you found a lot of value in today's message in this episode. And like I said, if you did, please screenshot this, share it on social media, tag me. I would love to know. That's it. And again, reminder, if you wanted to get on the priority list for our next Kickstart Challenge, it's going to be round 13, then get on that priority list, girl, because it's going to rock. That's coming up before you know it. I mean, we're here in week number 2 of this Kickstart, and I'm going to roll right into the next Kickstart after this 6 weeks. So get on that priority list. I love you, girl. Self-care, self-love all day, every day. Do I have your word? Good. Let's rock.